you're training hard but not recovering properly, you're actually capping how good you get, no matter how hard you push in the gym or on the court. In this video, I'm breaking down exactly what the research says about recovery. Let's start with sleep, because it affects everything else on this list. Adults are generally recommended 7 to 9 hours, but elite athletes may actually need more than that. And that isn't a small issue. Research on both elite and sub-elite athletes found that roughly 2/3 reported poor sleep quality. That means most athletes, even at a high level, are training hard and then undercutting their own recovery every single night. Sleep isn't just about feeling less tired either. Adequate sleep is specifically named alongside nutrition as one of the core pillars for maximizing recovery and reducing fatigue from training. It's not a bonus, it's foundational. If you're only focusing on ice baths and protein shakes, but sleeping 6 hours a night, you're optimizing the smaller levers while ignoring the biggest one. Nutrition. Here's where most athletes get vague advice instead of real numbers. Research points to a post-exercise protein dose of around 20 grams, or more precisely 0.25 to 0.3 grams per kilogram of body weight. For context, that's roughly 18 to 22 grams for someone around 165 pounds. But timing isn't just about right after training. Muscle protein synthesis actually stays elevated for up to 48 hours after exercise, which means the old ideal tiny 30-minute anabolic window is outdated. What actually matters more is spreading 20 to 30 grams of protein across each meal throughout the day, rather than trying to cram it all into one post-workout shake. As for your daily total, team sport and strength athletes generally need somewhere around 1.6 to 1.7 grams per kilogram of body weight per day, which is meaningfully more than the general population recommendation. For a 165-pound athlete, that's roughly 120 to 127 grams of protein a day, not the 60-65 grams, the baseline for a sedentary adult. Carbs. Protein gets talked about a lot, but carbohydrate timing matters just as much for recovery, specifically after a long practice or tournament day. Starting carbohydrate intake immediately after exercise increases how quickly your body replenishes. This becomes especially important when you have 8 hours or less before your next training session or match. That's a big deal for tournament weekends. If you're playing multiple matches in a day with short turnarounds, waiting 2 or 3 hours to eat a real meal is actively working against you. The window right after exercise is when your muscles become more sensitive to insulin and more efficient at absorbing glucose. Cold water immersion. Ice baths are everywhere in pro sports content, but most people don't know the actual protocol that's backed by research. Evidence points to water between 10 and 15 degrees Celsius for 10 to 15 minutes, ideally within 2 hours after intense training. There's even more nuance than that. Research compared different protocols found that colder water in the 5 to 10 degree range was better for reducing markers of muscle damage, while slightly warmer 11 to 15 degree range was more effective specifically at reducing muscle soreness, and it's more tolerable, which matters if you're actually going to stick with it. One important caveat, if your goal that off-season block is building strength and muscle, it's actually recommended to delay cold water exposure for 6 hours after training, because jumping in immediately can blunt adaptations you're trying to build. Ice baths are a recovery tool for in-season high-frequency competition, not something you want to do after every single strength session in the off-season. One last thing worth understanding: a lot of the research behind these recommendations come from studies on people doing a single hard workout then fully resting. That's very different from how athletes actually train, when you're often going through multiple sessions per day without even full recovery in between. So use these numbers as real evidence-based starting point, but pay attention to how your own body responds. So to recap, prioritize 7 to 9 plus hours of sleep, hit roughly 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal spread through the day, refuel with carbs immediately after training when your next session is close, and if you're going to use cold water immersion, know the real protocol instead of guessing. None of these is complicated once you know the numbers. It's just the part of training most players skip.